one day somebody does something unspeakable to someone else, to someone you hardly knew, and you do something about it because you can.
We get this story from WXYZ Detroit. Now, it would be hard to find a police officer in Melvindale more polarizing than Lieutenant Matthew Ferman. In his 12 years on the job, he's been promoted and celebrated, suspended and criminally charged, fired and brought back. Ferman says he's on the receiving end of so many allegations because, unlike many in law enforcement, he's proactive about seeking out and stopping crime, which kind of is interpreted, hey, I violate rights, but I get criminals. Quote, I've had a lot of people tell me I'm a great police officer, says Ferman. Today, he is under investigation by both Michigan State Police and Melvindale Police over a traffic stop that ended with the man being repeatedly drive-stunned with a taser that the driver claims was abusive. What's drive-stunned? Is that where they push it down? Ferman says it's just the latest false claim against him. The history of the controversy. Well, the slew of allegations against Ferman throughout his career that he adamantly denies can be found in citizen complaints, lawsuits, police reports, and depositions. One claim from 2016 stemmed from Ferman pulling over a mother driving her two small children. Her vehicle had no car insurance, and Ferman ordered the car towed. Instead of letting the woman wait for her ride, she claimed, Ferman dragged her out of the car and onto the ground, forcing her over the vehicle's hood, all in front of her children. Ferman would be suspended for 3 days, but the suspension was later overturned by the Public Safety Commission, the head of the Blue Gang, right? He denied any wrongdoing. Of course he did. Of course he did. Just a few months after that, he would detain a robbery suspect who said Ferman slammed his head onto the police car while he was handcuffed. A lieutenant reported that he witnessed this and told the man he would not sweep that incident under the rug. Another officer there said under oath that Ferman went way over the line and split the man's head open. See, they're turning against this cop, his own peoples. Ferman told 7 News Detroit that he didn't cause the injury. It was the people the man was stealing from. He said the 2 officers were mistaken in what they reported. Oh, my buddies they were mistaken. They're not good cats. They're not on the blue line. Quote, I'm not going to call them liars, Ferman said in January, but I'm going to say their perspective was probably off because they were halfway down the block. Ferman says that an outside investigation cleared him of any misconduct and that he ultimately faced no discipline. Of course. A former Melvindale police chief said he tried to rein Ferman in and was terminated as a result. Can't be a whistleblower. In a lawsuit filed in 2017, Chad Hayes said Ferman engaged in repeated incidents of police brutality, but that he was discouraged from holding him accountable because of the significant revenue generated when Ferman towed vehicles. All politics. Ferman denied that in his own lawsuit against the city, claimed the chief retaliated against him because he favored a different towing company no longer used by the city. Both lawsuits were settled out of court. Now, in 2019, Ferman would be charged by Wayne County prosecutors accused of assault after Ferman responded to a disorderly conduct complaint. While there, an intoxicated man would accuse Ferman of throwing him down a flight of stairs. Ferman denied the charges, saying the man fell on his own. Well, I grabbed him and he fell. I pushed my arms out and he fell. The prosecutor would dismiss the assault charge in exchange for Ferman pleading no contest to willful neglect of duty. He would be fired over the incident, but an arbitrator overturned his termination, saying the city offered no concrete evidence that Ferman threw the man down the stairs. Today, Ferman has withdrawn his no contest plea. 2 years later, Ferman was part of a high-speed police chase. The suspect had stolen a vehicle, police said, after striking an officer. After his vehicle crashed, he fled on foot before officers surrounded him. As officers from multiple agencies tried to subdue him, a Dearborn officer's body cam caught Ferman repeatedly stomping on the man's leg as officers looked on. Ferman's at it again. A Dearborn officer would report Ferman's force to Melvindale police. Ferman told 7 News that the man was resisting officers as they tried to handcuff him, so he used the stomps as a form of pain compliance. These cops, man, and they're cops-plaining. Ferman was not disciplined, of course not. Quote, I'm very proactive. If you are proactive and you're hardworking, you're going to get more complaints, Ferman said. Quote, but these aren't just complaints coming from citizens, said Channel 7's Ross Jones. These are, in some cases, complaints coming from other officers in your department, officers in other departments, your chief in some cases. That's not typical, is it? Ferman says. I don't know. While he's a lightning rod within the department, plenty of officers come to Ferman's defense. Faisal Munasser, a motor carrier officer with the department for the last 8 years, calls Ferman a leader within the department. It's because he's part of the gang. Quote, he comes to work, works hard, protects our city that I live in, and tries to get crime out of here. I've got nothing but respect for him. He said that recent attacks against officers, like the one that took the life of Officer Mohammed Saeed last July, influence how Ferman does his job. Ferman was one of the first officers to come to Saeed's side after he had been killed. Well, he was probably killed because of cops like Ferman. Today, he is on administrative leave while seeking counseling over the incident. Now, Dave Pawelczyk, an ordinance officer for the city, also praised Ferman's work. He said, he's trying to clean up crime, clean up the city that I live in. I've been here for 25 years. I've seen the city go from good to bad and trying to make that improvement of going back to good. I wish we had more officers like him. Well, that's the police departments love butt kickers who violate people's rights. I don't know why, they just do. But Melvindale's mayor says Lieutenant Ferman can be his own worst enemy. When he talked to her last month, she said Ferman belongs at a desk rather than on the street. Do you think he understands de-escalation? Asked Channel 7's Ross Jones. The mayor said, no, I don't. I feel like in the heat of the moment, he needs to learn how to put aside anger and just do his job. And therein lies what most cops need to do. Shkira, that's the mayor, said at least one lieutenant in the department says he won't respond to crime scenes with Ferman, fearing that the call will end in trouble. Quote, when you have other officers say they don't want to respond to calls with him, says the mayor, that can potentially cause a problem. Ferman can be heard saying, step out of the vehicle now, according to body camera video. Quote, next thing is you get the taser. Get out of the car. Ferman says all you got to do is comply. Ja, mein Führer. When a police officer gives you a lawful order, you're required to follow it. When a police officer asks for your information, your name, you don't have a legal right to provide a fake name. End quote, says Ferman. Now, according to multiple current and retired police officers who reviewed the circumstances of the stop for 7 News Detroit, Williams was arrestable for driving on a suspended license. But what troubled every officer we showed the video to is what happened next. And the story goes down and down and down. It's a pretty lengthy story. You can read it by clicking the description box or clicking the link in the description box, and you can read that whole story all the way down. That I didn't finish. But that end part, that last part was where there was a traffic stop, and 7 News showed this video footage to these officers, and what troubled them was what happened after the initial stop. They were troubled by it. So it gets me this cop that everybody hates, but he's got a few that really like him, so he's a good cop. They like him. Yeah, but the other cops don't. Cops won't even respond to a call with him. They're like, "Who's on the call?" Ferman. I'm going to do this patrol over here. I'm not going there. You know what I'm saying? The world of law enforcement is just, it bewilders me how people stay cops. Like, what in the, you know what I'm saying? But I'll end with this. So Ferman says, all you got to do is obey when a cop gives you an order. Okay? You don't have a right to give a fake name or even not, ID. When you ask for it, you're giving it. No, buddy. It doesn't work that way. And that's what a lot of cops think, and a lot of people that aren't cops. The regular civilians think that too, that when a cop gives you an order, just obey. Just comply. Ja, mein Führer. No. If you're not breaking the law, that police officer or law enforcement officer has no authority over you. None. I don't want all law enforcement officers to hear me on this. When a cop gives you an order, if you're not breaking the law, he has no right to give you that order. He has no authority over you. The only time a law enforcement officer has authority over you is if you're breaking a law that he's enforcing. That's it. And I'll clarify a little bit here, and I'm not going to go through every scenario, but there's generic times kind of when an officer gives an order. Like maybe you're standing in an area and he goes, "Can I have you guys back up? I need everybody to back up by about 5, 10 feet or 20 feet. This is a crime scene." Okay, maybe there's evidence there. Okay, I get that part. One time I was recording the San Bernardino PD. It was a shooting they had responded to. I was standing by a tree and the sergeant was going around with his flashlight and he goes, "Hey, come over here. We got a couple pieces of brass here." And I was like right there by the tree. And I said to the sergeant, well, I said into my video narrating, I said, "Okay, guys, we're going to back up." I go, "I'll back up for you, Sergeant. I'm going to walk up here." And he goes, "Thank you. I appreciate that." I go, "It's evidence. I'll back up. You guys are investigating." I get that. But when a cop just wants to give you an order because, look, I'm a police officer and I give directives. Like that one at the CDC in San Bernardino, that San Bernardino County Sheriff's deputy that worked at the detention center. She walks out and she goes, "I just want you to know that there's children here. I don't care if there's kids here. I'm not recording them and I don't really care about them." But she had to stop to give a directive. Are you here? Do you need help with something? "No, I'm just doing a story." "Well, there's kids here, okay? So I don't care. I want you to know when you're slapping people that are handcuffed, you're violating their rights." And she walks off. I don't want to hear that. Now, my point is, they have to stop and give you a directive. They have to say, "I'm a police officer. I have to give you an order, okay, so that you know I'm a cop. You don't have to give me anything. I'm going to give you something. Here's a directive. Turn around, go over there, and do your job." There's a directive for you. And that's kind of where we're at here with this cop saying, "Look, if the cop gives you an order, just comply." No, it doesn't work that way. At the same time, this cop that's saying this, other cops don't even like him. The mayor don't like him. The city don't like him. But those few cops do. And that Saeed, they're all like, "Well, he was right there to help when Saeed was killed." And I think it's tragic that Saeed lost his life. But perhaps, and it's possible, it's feasible to think that Saeed lost his life because of cops like Ferman. People always say good cops are getting shot because of bad cops. I always say that. John goes out. He's an asshole. He treats everybody like crap. The next week, Mike is, hey, Mike, can you go out to this call here and deal with these people? Mike goes out there. He's the nicest guy ever. He's a Christian. How you doing? Hey, Mike. Mike, we appreciate you as an officer. But he goes to this one call that John was at, and everybody starts calling him a pig and telling him to get out of here, Porky. And he's like, whoa, what did I do? You didn't do anything, but John's an asshole, and you're wearing the same uniform. That's Ferman in a nutshell.